Welcome back to the show, everybody. Check out these headlines here. We got Brad Garlinghouse and David Schwartz at Consensus. You're going to love it. Oh boy, somebody roll that beautiful intro.
Digital Perspectives with Brad Kimes. Come on in.
Welcome back to the show. You can follow us on Twitter, YouTube, and digperspectives.com for exclusive content. Right now, $2.69 trillion market cap for crypto. The market's up 0.9%. 68,400 plus for Bitcoin, 3,800 plus for Ethereum. We see Tether market cap at 112 billion plus right now. 8th spot is XRP. We're at 52 cents. We're up 0.2 on the 24-hour, off by 1.1 on the 7-day. Range of price between 52, 53 cents. We'll keep an eye on it. Hey, I want to point this out to you right here. Look at this. Stripe launched its biggest brand campaign to date, highlighting large enterprises using Stripe. The campaign features on billboards, airports, public transit around London, New York, LA, Chicago, Dallas, San Francisco, and Austin. And I want to tell all of you, you can get Stripe at Link2. Yeah, at some point, what are they going to do? Are they going to get bought by a larger company that does payments? Or are they going to actually go and IPO? You know, this is super exciting to have access to companies that are taking off like this. And with a huge campaign, boy, you really have to start wondering what could be behind the push. But I know this, you can get shares at Link2, the best home for private equity in the world. All you got to do is click the link below to my sponsor, get signed up and get started today before everybody else on there buys it all, because that's what happens. I'm guilty of it too. Look at this, speaking of buying it all. DBS Bank, which works with Ripple as well, it's reported that Singapore's largest bank, DBS, holds nearly $650 million in Ethereum. So apparently they're a bit bullish on Ethereum these days. Only 2 digital networks or assets, says crypto law, in the U.S., Bitcoin and XRP, have regulatory clarity. Now pay attention to that. Regulatory clarity as the result of judicial intervention. That's not legislative clarity, that's regulatory clarity. So I just want to highlight that. There's a difference between the two. If there are to be rules of the road, then Congress should write them and be done with it. Absolutely. So this is from Peter Roth here and shared by Crypto Law. Shout out to both of them. Completely agree. But look, we're going to get a level playing field. It's coming. And I want you to take a look at this. And boy, am I going to run something by you on this one I think you're going to love. This is right here, breaking. SEC Commissioner Hester Peirce proposes joint U.S. and U.K. regulatory sandbox for crypto companies, giving them 2-year safe harbor to decentralize their blockchains. Now, we originally heard the safe harbor from Hester Peirce, and shout out to her. It was a 3-year safe harbor originally, now pitched as a 2-year safe harbor, and talking between U.S. and U.K. regulatory sandbox. Well. This is where I'd like to remind you, we love to speculate here on this channel. So those who can't handle it, you better head to the safe room, your little crying room. Imagine for a moment now, the US and UK regulatory sandbox. Oh, that's right. Uphold has announced their white labeling service for the globe. Yes, white labeling payments with digital assets for U.S. and global financial institutions like banks. Simon McLaughlin, CEO of Uphold, told us they're already doing it. So what do you think this little sandbox could do for Ripple's relationship with Uphold, knowing that that white labeling service absolutely involves the use of Ripple, right, and XRP on the back end? And then we get a regulatory sandbox between the U.S. and UK? Come on in. And then sprinkle in a Ripple stablecoin to go with that regulatory sandbox? Oh, I'm getting tingly. Very, very nice. Clearstream, DTCC, and Euroclear, three of the world's largest securities depositories, ladies and gentlemen, and central counterparties, in collaboration with Boston Consulting Group, unveiled a comprehensive digital asset framework yesterday. And look, we all understand how big and massive that is. We're talking more than $2 quadrillion settled every year. Okay. The BCG has previously projected the digital asset sector could grow to a staggering $16 trillion by 2030 in just another 6 years. It's at this point I want to remind you that the DTCC signed in October of last year that a definitive agreement to acquire Securities, blockchain-based financial company that helps them settle all of this digital asset world. And what are they using at Securities? The protocol can be utilized for Securities on Ethereum, Stellar, Ripple, and EOS, and other distributed ledgers, as well as on their legacy systems they currently use today. Thought I'd share that with you. You know, I don't know if you know this too, the UK is a huge financial hub for settling derivatives around the world too. Did you know? Fun fact. Yeah. And what about those ETFs to come for the rest of the industry? Well, this is a little hard to hear, but you're going to hear Brad Garlinghouse tell you it's like thinking about the stock market when it came about as if there would only be one stock to trade.
It's just inevitable there's going to be more ETFs. Right? It's almost like saying, you know, when you first had the introduction of the stock exchange in the 1930s, 1920s, if you only trade one stock, does that make sense? No, that doesn't make sense. Like, look, there's going to be multiple ETFs. We now have a big, approved ETH ETF. I think it's just a matter of time. It's inevitable. There's going to be an XRP ETF. There's going to be a Solana ETF. There's going to be a Garlinghouse ETF.
Woo! And there you have it. And shout out to Brad for the candor there. But we're not done with you yet. Remember, Kraken is considering removing support for stablecoin Tether in the EU as new MiCA regulations approach. And then to that point, Kraken came out and said, we do not plan to delist Tether. But then there's this problem right here. Take a listen to this.
Doesn't mean that this won't change.
This is from Consensus, just in the last day.
Doesn't mean that this won't change, especially as the digital euro will take some time. And there's a gap now. And somebody needs to fill the gap, so maybe they turn a blind eye and say, like, okay, let them go till we have a digital euro. Or it will be just an unknown situation where, you know, Tether won't be there in Europe because it's not MiCA compliant, and some others might be also gone.
And there you have it. So it's a problem with regulation, ladies and gentlemen. You know, I said this years ago, even about Bitcoin back in the day, or any token. They always say, you can't stop the technology. The technology is too powerful. Well, you're right. You're right. But you know what? They could regulate it or tax it or fine it out of existence if they wanted to, and they can do it with anything they choose to. Don't believe it. It's still true. That's why we're all waiting for regulations, right? But let's go ahead and cue this up here, right here. And I want you to hear what Brad Garlinghouse says about the stablecoin that they're going to be launching with Ripple and the comments that go with it. Take a listen here.
Let's talk about some business updates. I mean, I saw the news about the stablecoin stuff that you're working on. Please just give us a quick update on that, and then I want to dive into the specific question.
Look, the stablecoin, the market today is roughly 150 billion, forecasted to grow 15 to 20x in the next 5 years. You know, so people think it's going to be a roughly $2.5 to $3 trillion market in a few years. There's a lot of growth there. I think they're also in the incumbents today. You have Tether and USDC as the primary.
Listen what he says. Tether and USDC is the primary. Listen.
Look, I think I'm pro-Tether. The U.S. government is not pro-Tether.
The U.S. government is not pro-Tether. Doesn't matter what Brad is. But listen to this next little line right here.
And that means I think there may be shifts in market share.
That means there might be shifts in market share. What have I been saying to you? I've been asking the question, are we going to see Tether shut down and drive that market share and those bonds that are held by Tether that seem to be so coveted pushed into USDC and Ripple stablecoin by the end of the year? I'm asking the question. I'm not saying it's happened. I'm asking the question, as I always have.
I think for Ripple, given where we focus as a company around financial institutions, I think we have a trusted brand for those markets. I think we have a very large balance sheet. We were already using stablecoins in some of our payment flows. So for me, this made good sense. There was a period of time where Ripple represented about 20% of all USDC minting. And so it's like, okay, wait a minute. Why don't we participate in this market? We think we can actually be a positive contributor. Well, look, as I have always said, I want all boats to rise. This isn't about I'm trying to beat Tether, I'm trying to beat USDC. If the market's going from 150 billion to 2.5 trillion, there's a lot of market opportunity there. I think all boats can rise, and I'm excited and optimistic. Yeah,
absolutely, no doubt about it. And I tell you what, there's something else you got to hear too. It's right here. It's David Schwartz. Now, I covered this again yesterday about the top-down approach. I have talked about this a lot on this channel. There's the bottom-up and the top-down. What do we know? We have been watching a top-down attempt by Ripple, and they have been doing, I think, a snap job of getting it done on the back end, but everybody's under NDAs. So we don't get to know about it. That's why currently right now in the remedy phase, they're trying to seal the 1,700 contracts, the pre-allocated option contracts they have going on, right? And they don't want to cover that up because it's important to their business strategies. Totally get that. There's nothing bad with that. I totally understand that. You don't want other people in their businesses to know what you did, right? Obviously, you want to keep your processes, hidden so you can continue to have that advantage. But the reality here for me is that you're going to hear David acknowledge again, that the top-down approach is where we're at the edge of, like we're rounding that corner where we're going to see that top-down, where we see a military or government come in and adopt some value protocols. And he believes the XRP ledger is designed for such a role. Take a listen to what he says here.
Yeah, that's exactly right. The idea that institutions can build things that are very strictly, very tightly regulated, things like portfolios of traditional loans that are heavily regulated, but that can interoperate with DeFi systems. So, for example, you might have a regulated lender who issues very traditional real estate or commercial loans, and then you might have tokenization of that debt that then anyone can hold in a purely DeFi system.
Now, listen.
And I think if you look at the way systems grow, if you look at the way the internet grew, there was government and military adoption that enabled grassroots adoption that built the system. That synergy is what really builds something that can, be dominant, that can really grow.
This is exactly what I said in the blockchain backer interview. That it is the large institutions coming off the sideline due to some kind of regulatory or legislative clarity that will bring that massive institutional money that will then drive a lot of the grassroots builders and developers to come to our network, just like the free pass that Ethereum got, only this time it won't be a free pass. It'll be legitimate clarity. This is why I'm so excited about this space for everybody from the top down to the bottom up right here.
And I think we see that corner. We see the XRP ledger as being a blockchain where those kinds of use cases can really work. They build something that can, be dominant, that can really grow. And I think we see that corner. We see the XRP ledger as being a blockchain where those kinds of use cases can really work. There was government and military adoption that enabled grassroots adoption that built the system. That synergy is what really builds something that can, be dominant, that can really grow.
And you know what? And when I think about that, with this point that we're in, let's add it all back up now, what we've talked about just today in this video. Hester Peirce is now recommending a 2-year safe harbor regulatory sandbox between the U.S. and U.K. Uphold is partnered with Ripple. They do a white labeling service for banks and financial institutions on a global stage. That sandbox could become very efficient. Ripple is to launch a stablecoin at the same time that the U.S. government is targeting USD Tether. USDC just moved their legal base domicile back to the United States, making the only digital dollar offered outside of the United States Tether, looking even more like a target these days. Couple all of that with what David's now saying back here with the narrative that, we need to see that top down. We're at that place where we're going to see that top down approach where you see institutions, militaries, and governments come in, and that's going to drive these grassroots people to know this is the place to be. This is the place to build. I think there's something coming, and you have to wonder if the Ripple stablecoin and the possible shutdown and push the targeting of Tether could push it outside of the regulatory framework the way it's currently being said. It sits outside of MiCA regulations in the EU right now, which kick in this coming month, June. The plot thickens, ladies and gentlemen. Very quickly here, there's an update from 2 days ago, just to cover it very quickly here. It is the SEC filing as Ripple has filed a reply and letter to further support their motion to seal the documents that I just talked about for the remedies phase. So we are watching this closely to see what happens. All of the evidence is pretty much in here, and we know to watch for some kind of a judgment from Annalisa Torres in either late July or early August if it follows her normal path of the time she takes, which is about 2 months to make a decision. So we'll see where that goes until then. And that's just some more details there, but I'm not going to get into them today. Look, not financial advice to me or anyone else. It's just my digital perspectives. I'm going to take you into the freedom zone, ladies and gentlemen. You're going to want to come with me, and it's important today. Our country is under duress, and you need to know about it, and we're going into the freedom zone. I hope you will join us. digperspectives.com, click the freedom zone, or just click the link underneath this video and come on in. All right, well.